I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Suisse?
Present.
Mayor Yukin?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Next will be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start. We had a leaf burning regulations in the village of Glen with a change of weather. Residents are required to obtain a leaf burning permit from the village's building department for any open burning of leaves on residential property. The permit is valid for a total of 6 months, so if you previously had a permit, you must come to the village's building department to renew this free permit. As a safe alternative to burning, all yard waste can be picked up by New Way on a regular pickup day from April 1st through November 30th at no extra cost. No permit is required for recreational fires. If you have any questions, please visit www.homerglen.org or call 708-301-1301. Second Heritage Park Open House. Please join us for the second public open house regarding the planning of the village's Heritage Park on Saturday, November 12th from 10 a.m. to noon. At this event, we will be discussing potential concept plans for the park. The village, with the assistance of consultant planning resources, is in the process of developing a master plan for Heritage Park. Public input, including those comments received at this open house, are important and valued part of this project. If you have any questions, please call Village Hall at 701-301-0632 or email at village@homerglen.org. With a change of time last weekend, it's darker much earlier, so if everyone could please slow down, be careful, watch out for the kids. With that, Trustee Costa.
I'd just like to wish Trustee Caprio a happy birthday today. That's all I have, Mayor. When you reach 21, it's a milestone in your life.
I forget we keep this.
Action report.
Trustee Suisse.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Environment Committee. The replacement tree planting program in the right-of-way is currently underway, and we would like to thank the residents for their cooperation. We are in the process of preparing for our next Earth Day Arbor Day event, which will take place on May 20th. During our subcommittee meeting, which is scheduled for November 14th, we will discuss entertainment, budget, vendors, and demonstrators. 2 members from the Environment Committee recently attended the 2016 Chicago Wilderness Congress, which offered many different conference topics to the 600 people in attendance that day. One session linked environmental conservation with human well-being, and also how to identify the principles and values of a community along with heritage, economy, and natural resources. The members said the Congress was very informative and will report back to the Environment Committee at one of our next meetings. Just a quick mention from the Parks Committee. There will be a flag raising ceremony in honor of Veterans Day and the flag on Friday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at Stonebridge Park. A brief history of the flag and about Veterans Day will be presented by Sergeant Andy Kenny. The flag raising ceremony will be conducted by the Junior ROTC. Please attend if you have time. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Okay, birthday boy.
I have no report, Mayor.
Is there a report from the treasurer? No report. Is there a report from the clerk?
We had over 2,500 people vote during the 2-week period of early voting. We had 250 people vote on Saturday and 550 people vote on Monday. So I would like to extend a special thanks to EMA, John Robinson and Steve Spears for helping out at the end of the day because it kind of got a little chaotic. So it was a very successful turnout. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a report from the village attorney?
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
No report.
Public safety officials? No report. Village manager? No report. Okay. We'll go into public comment. Do we have,
Commissioner DeVivo is raising his hand.
Commissioner, I know. Well, he's going to call, but I know Commissioner DeVivo wants to say something too. Do you want to go now or after public comment? You know what, Mike, why don't you go now? This way you can get through your stuff, because I don't know how many people are on here yet.
Hi, Mike DeVivo, the Highway Commissioner. Normally I don't come up here and discuss some construction we do on the roads and the projects we do. They're not as extensive as this. Can you hear me now? Is this on? That better? Okay. But we're going to be closing Cream Road between 143rd and 147th for about 2 weeks. That's a major drainage corridor. There are 3 major cross culverts that cross that road. Right now they're out of steel, they're rusting, and they have to be replaced. We went out for bid late summer, and although the bid has already been awarded, you can see some, the red lines on that map that you see up there where the cross culverts should be. And what's taken us so long to get to the project is, once the bid is awarded, they had to go out for production and have the cross culverts made. They were designed for the project. We plan on starting this on November 28th. We're going to wait till after the Thanksgiving weekend. We might be able to start before, but we don't want to disrupt the residents there. So we're going to start afterwards. We hope to have a meeting with residents. We're starting to get together the names and the addresses of the residents. We're going to make sure every resident is invited to a pre-con meeting. If you look at the cuts on the road, throughout the project, they'll need to access their house from different streets. Sometimes they'll have to access from 143rd, and sometimes they only have access from 147th. And because of that, we'll be in direct contact with the residents throughout the entire project, so they'll know when we make these changes, and we can reconfigure their paths to the house. We're also going to put up a message boards on each end of the route a week before, so that the commuters know that the road will be down. Obviously, we'll also talk with the schools, police, and fire. So it's a major drainage project. I'm thinking it'll tie in with some of the projects you have. I think you may be looking to do something at Statler Ridge. That corridor drains everywhere from some of the park here, all the way through all the sports fields, and of course Statler Ridge and some of the farm fields around 151st and Cedar. So any questions on this project? We'll keep the village staff informed as we're progressing through it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll start with public comment. Mike, if you want to talk about something to Stevens, please. Are you just here right now for what's on the...
I was just stopping by, just wondering if we were still on the radar, if anything was happening in the application for the gaming license.
You are, it's still under a hold right now because we're trying to work this thing out to where it's fair to everybody.
Okay.
So we're still probably looking at the next meeting, the last meeting of this month.
Okay.
We should have an answer by that time.
Okay, and I'll just stop back then.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll give you a call once we're situated with it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sylvia, are you on the list just to talk, or you're just letting us know?
Actually, Dave from Illinois American Water was just going to make a brief statement. So all 3 of us are on there.
Okay, all right. All right, when it comes up, we'll be up front.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Pisula? Same thing? Okay, I know Dave's on it. John Coy?
Just reading an article in the paper, and we have a meeting, I guess, with the Parks Committee again.
This Saturday?
All right. Now, going through the notice of proposed property tax increase for New Lenox Community Park District, Will County. Public hearing to approve a property tax levy increase for New Lenox Community Park District will be held the 16th day of November. All right. Number 2, the corporate and special purpose property tax as extended from 15 through 16 were $2,689,000 is what Park District's getting in New Lenox. I don't see that fancy of parks out there, and I do know a few people that live out there with kids in sports programs. But it's going from $2,600,000. They want another $1 million. They want to raise it for 2016-17 to $3,776,000. We got to be a little bit conservative. Well, we're going to build right out our doorway here, and I just get a little bit discouraged when all I hear is baseball parks, swimming pools, and stuff that sometimes you can't afford. I often wonder, too, which one of these days maybe I'll take a ride to Orland, because I think they're leasing or renting out that pool to a pool company. I'm not sure. But I don't even think they take care of it themselves anymore, because somewhere I had read that they were going to get a new contract with whoever runs it. So I'd like to find out exactly before all of a sudden we get some plans from an architect that says that we're going to put a community pool in. We're going to build 6 more baseball fields. We're going to put in 4 more football fields. We're going to, this stuff all costs money.
Yes, it does.
I saw the one thing from the sports people over here. The football team, 26 players. Well, that one year they got $500,000 in their kitty. Ooh, that's a lot of money. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they spent all $500,000. I can't figure out on what. But like I said, we got to be careful. Thank you.
You're welcome. We don't plan on putting the pool in, so.
We don't have a park district either. So I think we are pretty frugal right now. But we wouldn't.
$1 million is a lot of money to raise in taxes.
I agree. We don't plan on putting any taxes out there. Lynn McGarry.
So really, no pool never?
You can come
Never
back.
say that. We got built-in pools back there. Hold on to them.
Yeah.
Come on over, Glen. Come on.
It's the kind I used to swim in when I was a kid. Anyway, I'm here to invite you again to the Chamber's annual holiday party and installation of officers next Thursday, 17th at Ruffled Feathers. Some of you have already said you're coming, but I'd be so happy if you'd all come. Because, this is my event, so I need you to make me look good. Thanks a bunch.
Tom Becker?
I'm actually just here for the showing.
Okay, thanks, Tom. That's it for public comments. So we can actually jump into the legislation and action items. Number 1, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-047, an ordinance granting 1, a special use permit, outdoor storage for a fence display. 2, a variance to reduce the required front yard setback from 45 feet to 10 feet. 3, a variance to reduce the required corner yard setback from 45 feet to 20 feet. for the property commonly known as 15901 South Parker Road, Homer, Glen, Illinois, case number HG 1627SV, Peerless Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Truland Fence.
So moved.
Trustee Costa?
Second.
Trustee Rogers? Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple of comments. I understand about the setback because of construction on 159th Street. I don't like the fence display if this is going to be 10 feet off of 159th Street, where it has a dozen plus different styles of fencing right on a premium corner that we have.
What is going up there now? Okay.
Is there going to be a fencing in front of this?
Mr. Becker, you want to come up to the mic, please?
Hello, Tom Becker with Truland Fence Company. The split rail fence that is up there now.
This is what I'm talking about.
Right, that's the display.
Displays.
Yeah, they usually start out in the very front with like a 3-foot or a 4-foot, and then cascade up closer to the building. They would be the taller fencing. The village did a sightline requirement, I believe, when we were here for the planning commission meeting, and it's not going to be impacting any of that. The reason that it's the 10-foot, that's to the new property line. The road is actually much further away from that. Trying to think of what else. I mean, it's when we say displays, like I said, it's going to be a few, just so the customers can actually touch and feel, because we weren't planning on doing it originally when we moved into town, but we had more foot traffic than people coming in than we really thought, and they physically wanted to see it before they ended up either buying some parts or buying the fence itself.
Is there somewhere where you could put this that snap right on 159th Street, like on Parker or on the other side of the building? Because I mean,
there is no other side of the building. I mean, the
because
back of the yard.
because you had a storage, there was a diagram here of a big storage area back there on the other south of the building.
Right. But that's in a fenced-in area, and that's where our storage actually is.
Okay.
So the split rail fence that's going up now, that's there now, is this going inside of that? Is that what?
Yes, it's going to be inside. It's going to be pretty far inside of that. It's going to be, I don't have the, well, the split rail fence is actually where the box, the blue line is actually where the split rail fence is now. So, yes, everything that's inside of that.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the monitor's not working.
The TVs are on.
Oh, all right.
I don't know why there's no monitors are on, but the TVs are working.
Says we're not connected.
Yeah, the split rail fence right now is, when it's up against 159th Street, is actually where the blue line is. And that was put up because we were running into such a problem when they were doing the construction.
All right, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everyone had it in front of them.
So yes, the split rail fence is where the blue line is right now on 159th. And it comes to an angle and then stops about halfway, right about where the 10-foot mark is there, and then cuts back over toward the building. And that was put up because we were running into such a huge problem with people doing the construction on 159th. When we first came to the town, that was all asphalt area and things like that, and we were requested to turn that back into green space, which we've done. But every time we put in topsoil and then we put in seed, we'd get trucks parking on there and dumping things on there. So we came to an agreement with the village to allow us to put up a split rail fence across the very front to try to limit that.
All right. And so to the west of that building, by the, I'm sorry, but by the outdoor storage, you're right next to the Parker storage, I think, right?
Correct.
There's no room there, or is that where they drive in and out?
That is, we cannot put any Talking about where it says 15 feet along,
I may be looking at a different photo than you, but it's on Parker Road.
Are you referring to the green area?
that's all asphalt right now. We're requested to turn that into asphalt, which has been done.
Sorry, Mayor. No, all I was going to say is where the display would be behind the fence on 159th Street is, it's a distance before you get to it. There's 18 foot in front of the display, and then you still have room getting to 159th Street, so, but it would, the display itself would be behind the split fence. So. And this picture doesn't really show it because it's just showing the display.
So you guys maintain the wood fence, the display wood fencing, do you maintain that?
Yeah.
So you keep it clean?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
stain
It's
it?
either, well, we don't stain because we don't want to put on stain and then have people question, if we do staining. What we end up doing is we replace that at least once a year, the wood fencing. The vinyl fencing is usually, stays up and it's got a nice, but the wood fencing, no, it's, we've tried pressure washing it, but it's easier just for us to take it down and put it back up every year.
And there's no room to put that up against the building on the Parker Road side, which is...
No, that's all asphalt.
That's all asphalt. Okay, you can prop it up on asphalt.
That would...
That looks so good.
Right. It's done very tastefully and very nicely when it's finished.
If we can keep it this way, I have no issue.
Any other questions?
I think so. Yeah.
Mike? No, I'm good. All right. Then I've got a motion, I've got a second, I've got the discussion, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Do you need a second?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, number two, there are three motions for the board's consideration with respect to Illinois American Water Company, case number HG 1626 MSP. First one, item G2A, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-048, an ordinance granting a map amendment rezoning from A1 agricultural and C1 neighborhood commercial to P1 public district, Chapter 220-710 of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, for certain real property located at 13835 South Park Road, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. So Caprio and Costa, discussion.
Well, can we ask them exactly to explain exactly what the proposed facility upgrades include? Because I know quite a few of the residents were upset about the changes that they perceive to be.
All right, Sylvia, Joan, could you come up to the mic, please?
Good evening. I'm David Glen, engineering engineer with Illinois American Water. I got our engineering consultant, Joe Pasula, from Donovan Associates. He's been involved with the planning and everything associated with this water treatment facility. He can provide more detail than I at this point. So I was going to actually
Ladies, thank you. Hi, I'm Sylvia Mikes. I don't think
I don't believe so.
It was for public safety.
That door was open, she was going to shut that.
dead battery.
All right, I'm just asking,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
I'm Sylvia Mikes with the firm of Chico and Nunez. I'm here just in case there's any questions regarding the zoning approvals that we're seeking.
All right, so what
Back to
else
Joe.
do we have, Joe or David, want to answer the questions then?
Yeah, I'll be able to answer the questions.
You want to sit here and use this microphone?
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. Actually, I prefer to stand and just shout.
You can shut, okay. That's usually what I do.
So, Donahue and Associates, we're an engineering firm in the Midwest. We've been retained to put the plans and specs together. We have been involved in the project for several years. We put a facility plan report, the conceptual plan together, and again, the drawings, the spec books that have gone before your staff, Michael Salamovich, and the Fire Protection District, and all those folks. We've submitted the plans and specs to Illinois EPA and their environmental groups and such. So we are taking responsibility for that. One of the things, a valid question would be is, okay, why are we doing this project? What is the reason, goals, and objectives on the project? The Illinois EPA and US EPA has a focus of making sure that wastewater treatment plants remove nutrients. That's not something that happened years ago. That's a recent focus from the federal government. So, for instance, the treatment plant that's out there now, and something's happened to our, this must be our flyover.
Yes, it is. I just have to press play.
Okay. So, hey, are you guys seeing that on your monitors? You're probably seeing a black screen right now.
Yeah.
So, and hey guys, this is, hey Karen, can you stop for me, if you could? Hey folks, this is the video that we gave to the Plan Commission members so they can see, and the citizens. And Karen, if you can, because this is really a 3D, kind of a based on Google Earth, and if you could stop it right there. Okay, hey folks, you see in the middle of the video a bunch of circular tanks. Those tanks are out there now. They're inside the fence line. You can see the shrubs and the arborvitae bushes. There's a fence there. Those circular tanks were built in 1967. I think one of them was put in later. 1967 was when the subdivision around there was put in, and they put package plants in. What engineers did back in the 1960s is they designed sewage plants to remove what they call BOD, the oxygen demand and suspended solids. But they weren't designed to remove ammonia, which is toxic to fish. They were not designed to remove phosphorus, which is a nutrient, which is an issue for US EPA and IEPA. 3 years ago, Illinois EPA came to the water company and said, hey, and EPA doesn't care. They passed a water quality standard in 1999 and said, you guys all start removing ammonia from these wastewater plants. Even if it wasn't designed for that, you got to do it. And they ratcheted down those numbers. The Illinois EPA came to the Illinois American and said, hey, you got to do it. Sat down and said, well, we got to do some planning. We worked with the Prairie Rivers Network and the Sierra Club to come up with mutual capabilities of doing that. And that's really what this project is to do. That's its prime goal, is to remove nutrients from the wastewater. The other thing is, I told you it was 1967, so that's 40 years ago. Concrete's somewhat deteriorated. The metal weir troughs, the handrail. So there are things where we're bringing this infrastructure up to speed, putting in stainless steel type items, bringing it up so it is sustainable. So hey folks, if you look back to this video, look at the rectangular tanks on the right side. There's some kind of brown. Those tanks aren't there. Those tanks are one of the big additions. This is what we are asking for is phase one of and these are called aeration basins. We have microorganisms inside that wastewater that essentially flourish and consume those nutrients. We're biologically going to remove phosphorus. We're also going to use liquid alum to precipitate out, form solids, which will settle out in those circular tanks. Hey folks, another building that's not there. I want to show you what's there and what's not there, what the changes are. All of the things that we are doing are inside the footprint of the existing fence that's roughly 20 feet tall or so. The staff really gave us that. Mike Salamovich, Mike Schwartz said, hey look, from the standpoint of aesthetics, disruption to the community, that's probably the thing to do, is keep it inside the footprint. So we have used that, we've taken that approach. Okay, the other thing we're doing is that first row of those rectangular tanks with the brown coloring in there, that's phase one. Right next to it, over to the left, we would also put another row of those tanks in phase two later on down the road, a few years down the road. As we had told the Plan Commission members, another objective is what we call regionalization or consolidation of facilities. In 1967 and in the 60s, the folks that made the decisions about wastewater said, let's put a sewage plant here and a sewage plant there. So you had one at Oak Valley, and you had one at Derby Meadows, and hey folks, it's very difficult if you're going to remove nutrients and do an enhanced wastewater treatment. It's very difficult to do it in these sprinkled small package plants. It was easy to do that when you're doing very little work. So another thing we intend to do is do consolidation and really not completely shut down the Derby Meadows treatment plant, but in this phase two, the eventual phase two, is to bring the wastewater pipeline in to this facility and do all the nutrient removal at this facility. Again, that's not in this. And hey guys, what we want to do is from the standpoint of phasing things in, that second objective, this regionalization or consolidation, is not an IEPA mandated approach or strategy. That is your facilities and making sure you're working efficiently. Okay, that's one of the reasons it's postponed into a phase two. Hey, what do? The Illinois EPA said you guys are going to remove nutrients, and we have till November 28th of 2019 to do it. It's a hard date that came from US EPA here in Chicago. Some of the folks in the audience said, hey, when are you guys going to start? Well, obviously we're not going to start if you all don't approve it. But we do have to be finished by an IEPA mandate and a US EPA mandate by November 28th of 2019. So the new facility, I want to make sure there's a building that you can see kind of has a brown roof on the left-hand side, beige. We've worked with the staff, brick and block building. That's a new facility. In the lower, kind of in the foreground, I can't point to you guys, there's a little garage looking. We're replacing an old wooden bullock garage with a brick and block building for the lawnmowers and the snow plows and the things we all have at our houses. Okay, hey Karen, can you rotate this thing for me? And so we spin it around. That's looking northeast. So on what you're seeing there is Seminole Trails on the right. In the foreground is Parker Road. Hey, can I have you stop it like right now? Hey guys, do you see a little green, little capsule there? What is that green capsule? That is an odor control unit. And I know some of you may have been to Oak Valley. What the water company folks did is said, hey look, Oak Valley wastewater plant done 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, has been well received. A lot of neighborhood input. So that's an odor control unit that, very similar design to what we put in Oak Valley. What the water company guys did is took us by the hand and took us to Oak Valley and said, you do odor control, cover the tanks. So hey folks, hey Karen, can you rotate it just a little bit more? Stop. See the white tanks in the lower left-hand corner? Those are aerobic digesters. They stabilize the sludge so it's safe to land upon farmland. You have those out of Oak Valley. Okay? We're putting covers over top of those, and that odor control unit is to make sure that those, you know, when you're stabilizing that sludge, you don't have the biosolids, you don't have the neighbors knowing about it. Some of the concerns that the neighbors had was noise, air compressors. So folks in the building, see where the green, my little green structure is? To the upper left there is a building. It is not there either. There's an old building that has some, what they call positive displacement blowers, which are real loud. They're the kinds of things an engineer like me spec'd in 1977. We're replacing those with high efficiency air compressors, rotary lobe compressors. We're putting inside a sound enclosed room, Hey guys, one of the things we're trying to do is obviously lower our power bill. We have very inefficient compressors out there that have been there a long time. So any good utility is going to do that. So again, this is giving you a perspective. Hey Karen, now we did run into a challenge in this video. I want to kind of see if, and then we may have to rotate it around a couple of times here. If you can action, so to speak. Okay, so now we're looking to the northwest. Keep going a little bit. I wanted to kind of bring your attention to the area to the east. Okay, you can barely see it now. Hey folks, if you look at, see where the Donahue logo is, below that are the people's houses. There is a vacant strip of land east. It's a buffer strip. If you go out there now, there's nothing there. Okay, the staff has said, look, you can't put all these buildings here and add more roof space and increase the runoff. So we have created a compensatory stormwater storage area there. That is going to be in that area. So we're not building into that area we don't feel we can. Again, that's probably the best view I have of it. What we have told the community, what we told everyone at the Plan Commission meeting was when we get done that area, we'll have a little depressed area where if Long Run Creek floods, it floods into there, and we haven't created any of those stormwater issues. Hey folks, I will tell you that what we told the public, and we're telling you that this project could take 2 years to build, possibly 2.5. There will be some dust. There will be some concrete trucks coming in. There will be some days when there's no concrete trucks and no noise and electricians pulling wire inside of a building. So that's kind of what we told folks is we need to be candid with you and tell you that that's the case. Why is it 2 years? Why can't you go faster? Hey folks, we don't have a lot of room. We're going to put significant constrictions on the contractor about how much stuff he can do. There's not a lot of room to maneuver. I can't let him work on all those tanks at once. Okay, we have to maintain treatment. We can't let sewage go into the river without adequate treatment. So hey buddy, you got to do one of these tanks at a time. And I don't have open space to do that. So folks, I hope I'm not giving you too much information, but we're trying to share with you as much information as we've given the Plan Commission and the citizens in the plan meeting. So
no, that's fine. We understand it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But that you would never lose the capacity to still be able to handle everything that is going through. And
yeah, this plant is actually running over capacity. When I first got my engineers involved, we looked at their data and we looked at the rated capacity. We said, gee, I wonder why EPA isn't giving us a hard time, because they're actually treating, and they are meeting standards. They have had some issues with this ammonia because it wasn't set for that, but they're actually treating more than they're rated for. Okay, that's one of the reasons why what we did is set this plant up so that we have that ability to treat what they're getting in. So we are treating it for the capacity that's there and setting ourselves up so if we are able to regionalize with the Derby Meadows plant and shut it down, we have that capacity. Though the thing that determines our capability are those circular tanks, those settling tanks. And Mr. Mayor, as we told the Plan Commission, the rated capacity that we have at this plant and what I call the lack of space to go somewhere and do more stuff, is we're probably maxed out at where we're at here now. We have some slight reserve capacity. We're not right at the brink, but you couldn't, without doing a massive change in technology, you couldn't go in here and do some kind of a large expansion because you just don't have the room to do it. We probably will be faced with some challenges when a contractor has to put piping. If you look in the open area between the circular tanks and the rectangular, you might say, hey, there's a big parking lot, there's a lot of room. We're going to have all kind of underground 36-inch diameter pipes running through and big duct banks and conduit runs. We're redoing the power feed, electrical. ComEd is bringing a new power feed into this thing, underground through there, so we don't hit power poles and things. So if we're going to have those facilities in there, we can't really put new structures in later for expansion. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or if I've...
When does the one in Derby shut down?
Derby cannot shut down until, and hey, what you have to do is if you shut Derby down and pump, you got to pump to a place that's got adequate capacity. I don't have a good answer as to when. That would really have to do with when can we phase this in, get Commerce Commission approval, get Illinois EPA approval. EPA has told us, we approve your plan to shut down Derby. The plan, the little report, the concept. But the big set of plans that I have there, we haven't developed that. It may be years down the road. So hey, think about it. We got 2 years to build this. We have to be done by 2019. I doubt very seriously. We might start doing some design in 2019, but we don't want to do that till we know we have good success here and we have it finished. So that is really the forecast, probably 2019 or later. I don't know.
What's the fallback plan if it wasn't approved, if you had to be done by 2019?
That's a very good question. What would happen is Illinois EPA would say, hey, we told you guys to get done, and we're sick of our lawyers after you, and we're going to send you to Lisa Madigan's office for prosecution, because you're not supposed to have violations. I mean, that is, I mean, they recognize we've done, they told us to do a report, we did a report. They told us to put some plans together. We have intermediate deadlines that says, and I didn't tell you this earlier, but we have intermediate deadlines. When do you turn this report in? When do you turn the plans in? We've done all those things. We haven't told them about, we have these local things we have to do, but we would have a challenge if you felt that we couldn't do this. We'd go back to the drawing board to go back to the study phase and redo it. We would probably have a regulatory challenge with the agents, with EPA.
And the only other question I have, would there really be dust mitigation for the residents in the community from a construction perspective, watering down, things of that nature?
Yes, we have an erosion control plan. I think that's probably going to be one of our big challenges. The truck driver that doesn't care. One of the things we told the residents is, okay, hey folks, if you can, I told you about the grassy area to the east that's up in the upper right-hand corner by our logo. When a contractor builds stuff, he has to have a place for the pipe that he gets delivered, and the clarifier mechanisms, and the sand, and the rebar. There's going to be lots of rebar, especially for those rectangular tanks. He has to place, he ships those in. Our staging area that we've proposed, our only open area is that eastern area. Now the residents did have a concern, and we're going to have to look at that. Our suggestion was work with Mike Salamovich and the staff. And now our understanding is we don't have a homeowners association there, a formal homeowners association. We had made outreach, hey, can you have some representatives? One of the gentlemen was in the construction business. Instead of us just unilaterally picking fences and screens and things, let us pick something out, we work with the staff, then go to the community so that they know what they see, they're going to get before we do it.
Are those square tanks open air, or are those covered tanks?
Those are open tanks. They are aerated, relatively quiet, very quiescent, very what they call fine bubble diffusion. Most treatment plants have them open. Oak Valley does not have rectangular ones. They have a racetrack. It's called an oxidation ditch. You've probably seen that. And that tank is open.
Yes.
Same concept. The only difference is the thing at Oak Valley that spins, it has a cover over it. It's not, we are using on this one an air compressor inside the building. We pipe the air to it. So it is open just like Oak Valley. Most engineers do that, do not put a cover over it because it's really not a source of noise. So.
Because that's it's right across the street from residents, and it's closer than those circular tanks. So is there going to be a noise level?
I believe it'd be very minimal. I would say it was very, very minimal. If you're standing up on the top of the tank, you may be able to hear some hissing or something right in close proximity, but residents across the street, you know, we do have the setback that you see in the foreground there, so. I mean, I have seen those covered. There are tanks, the pure oxygen tanks that in big cities like Indianapolis, where you have to do that because of the sheer size of the city. But usually in a wastewater plant like this, it's very similar to Oak Valley. You have an open tank where, again, it's a very aerobic and healthy environment. You don't have conditions that cause odors. So.
And landscaping, because I see you're taking down a lot of shrubs and things.
One of the things we committed to in the Plan Commission was, and we have not done it yet, the tree survey. We have, there are probably 20 locust trees that are probably 30 feet tall. Some are in pretty bad condition. We're going to do a tree survey, comply with the tree ordinance. In speaking to Michael Salamovich before the meeting, you guys have an engineer that you've retained to look over our shoulder. They've looked at the plans about a year ago when we were just in the conceptual design. I think what the staff recommendation is let them complete their design and give us input on the landscaping. And, you know, we don't have a lot of room for a lot of elaborate landscaping, but, you know, I think within reason there's some things we could do. So.
That was part of my concern, was the landscaping. There's some areas where the arborvitae's are missing that I would just see filled in. There's some dead trees out there that need to be cleaned up. And that was my concern.
That's a good question, though. We're not approving any plans, sir. We are approving the zoning change.
That's correct.
So all of this is going to come back to you in not you, but us in months for the landscaping and the aesthetics. This is just a zoning change. So this gentleman's going to probably have to go through his whole speech again when it comes in front of us at a later date. This is the zoning change only, correct?
No, the special use permit is the second.
Oh, special use.
Yes.
So they're not going to come back to us with any plans?
No. After staff review, there are conditions of special use that it has to be conditioned upon staff review, the submission of a tree survey, and compliance with the tree ordinance, those sorts of things. So.
Okay, so staff is not going to give the permit, or they're not going to give the final okay to start on this if they don't meet the ordinances anyway?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are relying on the staff input to give us guidance on. And then when it comes to trees and shrubs, myself being a wastewater plant designer, we try to maybe avoid deciduous trees. One of the things that happens to the guys, the operations folks, is you get deciduous trees this time of year, the leaves all fall into the circular tanks and plug all the sludge collectors. So we try to get evergreens, which, hey, if we're trying to do screening and aesthetics, year-round aesthetics is probably a better thing anyway. That's generally what we try to do. That's what you're getting with the arborvitae's out there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just also wanted to mention on the special use permit, a third condition was added, and I'm sure Karen probably did, in response to the neighbor's concern, and basically that all appropriate measures are going to be taken to minimize the construction impact. So that was the third, in addition to the approval of the final engineering plans and tree surveys.
So this hasn't, the plans have not been approved yet for engineering?
That is correct.
Okay.
There was a preliminary set about a year ago that, you know, here's where the tanks go, and it wasn't a detailed 300 sheets of plans. I asked Michael Salamovich to, okay, if we get some positive direction, we do need to get a push to do that and get us input. So that you guys can know, we will modify the plans and put whatever things we need to based on, so if you say who's got the football, really the engineer that you guys are retaining, we're waiting for their input.
I mean, technically, the special use doesn't really have any effect unless we have the village approval for the final engineering plans, the tree survey, and also that appropriate measures. It just literally would not have an effect.
Correct.
John, you have a question?
Yes, I have one. It's a question. I'm half a block from the Derby Meadows filtration plant. I've only seen it once since I've lived there. I was one of the first homeowners 40-some years ago to build it over there. And when Perino owned it, that plant shut down 2 times. Now, in that 2 times, he never would give anybody an explanation why it had to be shut down. I mean, I don't like the idea of you shutting it down and then maybe demolishing it. I would say that the village, if you open that one and shut down the Derby plant, have access to it, that in case of an emergency, because this is being built on a wetland too. According to insurance companies, that's a wetland where you're building it. Now, if something happens, maybe you might have to use the Derby, you know.
And you make a good point, and the devil is in the details, but our original plan that we put together said we use the Derby Meadow facilities, the existing pumping stations there, as a facility to pump over. Right now they're square and there are some circular tanks there that we're going to use for storage of what do we call wet weather or storm water related flows. So, hey, I will tell you that there are going to be a limited number of facilities demolished, taken down, but some of them are going to stay because we're going to use those as what we call equalization basins. So, but the treatment, you remember I told you about aeration basins and circular clarifiers. There's comprehensive treatment here. At Derby, what we're going to do is just have pumping and equalization, and that is it.
In other words, you're not going to destroy the plant.
Nope. We're going to try to maximize, that's how you keep the cost down, is to maximize the use of those facilities. If we would do that, we would have to make a huge pipeline, much larger than we would have to. Okay, so that's why you got to do that equalization, so you're not buying too big of a pipe that you only use in wet weather conditions. So.
Then 40 years ago, I built 2 of them plants. But that's 40 years ago, so I don't even know what's involved anymore.
I just wanted to state too that all the new buildings that they're proposing are meeting all the required setbacks, so there are no variances needed or anything as part of this.
Yeah, so the staff advises to that. Our first go around, actually, we encroached on that, and Michael Schwartz had said, so that building that you see in the upper left where the logo is there, we did move that further, about 2 feet further away from Parker Road to make sure we don't have a bunch of setback variances that we're asking for. So, again, it's just a matter of working with the staff.
You want to continue on with the next one, or you want to vote on this one now, or you want to go through the whole vote of this package?
The voting each of this one, they had a motion and a second on this one.
Okay, so if that's the case, then are there any other questions on this right now? All right, then Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
To clarify, we're taking one vote on 48, 49, 50, or is that right?
This is going to be for just for the 48 right now.
Item G280.
That's it. That's the only one we're discussing right now.
Trustee Costa?
I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you say.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Cavalier?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Sweet? Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item G2B. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-049, an ordinance approving a special use permit for the essential service water reclamation facility in the P1 governmental buildings and public school districts, chapter 220 zoning, attachment 2, table 2A, permitted and special uses for non-residential districts of the Code of Village of Homer Glen for a certain real property located at 13835 South Parker Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. That's a move. Trustee Caprio.
Second.
Trustee Costa. Discussion on this one. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Cavalier?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye. Motion carries. Item G2C. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-050, an ordinance approving a preliminary and final plat of Chickasaw Hills WRF subdivision consolidation for certain real property located at 13835 South Park Road, Glen, Illinois.
So moved.
Trustee Caprio?
I'll second.
Trustee Sweet? Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. You're welcome. Okay. Number 3, September legal bills. Is there a motion to approve the September 2016 Mahoney Silverman and Cross LLC legal bills in the amount of $3,266.25?
I so moved.
Trustee Sweet?
Second.
Trustee Rogers? Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Motion carries. Number 4, IML RMA contribution invoice renewal. Is there a motion to approve the 2017 IML RMA contribution invoice for workers' compensation liability insurance coverage in the amount of $40,504.86?
So moved.
Trustee Costa?
I'll second.
Trustee Caprio? Any discussion?
Is this the same amount that we have been paying?
It's a little bit more if we went into the new building, so there's more that they're insuring.
Okay.
And next year, we are going to put this out to bid, so this way we're comparing apples to apples. We were going to try to do it this year, but it came up too quick. And if we would have let someone go through it, we would have lost a discount that we would have had on it, and we didn't know if the price would be better or worse, so we figured rather than take a chance, let's go with them for right now. It's a good price, and we haven't had any issues, and we'll put it out to market next summer. With that, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Number 5, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-051, an ordinance amending ordinance number 12-035, amending the benefits section of the personal policy statement for the village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
Trustee Costa?
Second.
Trustee Rogers? Discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-052, an ordinance amending chapter 220-1206 of the Code of Village of Homer Glen, which provides for public hearings and those requirements within the Village of Homer Glen, Illinois, Will County?
So moved.
Mr. Caprio?
I'll second.
Trustee Squeeze? Discussion?
I'm just curious for the reasoning.
We've had issues in the past with petitioners being responsible to do the certified mailings and then doing them correctly. So we figured putting it in the hands of staff would mean that any of their public hearings, if they mess up the notification, wouldn't be tabled, which we've had to deal with in the past. And then it also costs approximately $6.50 to send out each individual letter, which we thought was a bit of a encumbrance to the petitioner. So we figured bringing it in staff and then do the first class mailing, which is only 50 cents currently, so.
Are you going to require the recipient of these letters to contact the village to say, yes, I received them? Is somebody going to do a follow-up?
No.
No in either case.
Correct.
So how do we guarantee that the notice actually went to the resident if we're not getting return receipt?
It could be delivered back to us as failure to be delivered, but that would be the only way.
There's also part of this is our current code does not actually require the notice for smaller projects, so we're codifying the code requirement. We do put a sign out on the residential properties for fence variances, things of that nature. So they'll have a sign out there, they'll get a letter, staff will have a listing of the addresses that these letters went to. So I think it's a pretty consistent way to approach it, and the vast majority of these that we get tend to be more on the residential side. It's also a customer service benefit for not only the applicant, but the person getting it. So most homes tend to be dual income these days. When you get these, you actually have to go to the post office on a weekend and try to pick up whatever this receipt is. So we think it's not only a cost-effective way, but a customer service way in a sense.
Okay, if it helps though, too, one of the things you do is whoever the staff members, rather than relying on the applicant, you're relying on staff to do it. You can actually have staff just sign some sort of certification or an affidavit that states that we certify that we've sent the letters to the following addresses and have that. So that way it certifies that it has been done.
That wouldn't be a problem.
We could always make that part of the packet if the board wishes.
And that would satisfy that even if the residents came in and say, no matter what you said, we still didn't receive notice of this email? Because there's no record that they actually received it.
I'll give you an example of the last one that we did. It was the cluster home residential development. We had two residents from the same address. The spouse, one of the spouses walked up with the letter saying she never got it, but she had it in her hand, and her husband also said he never got it. You know, so it's hard to, you know, without going those extra steps, to definitely verify it. But this is a balance of making sure you do the proper notification with trying to balance the cost and the customer service aspect.
I'm sorry, can I add one more? The other thing too that to recognize is obviously there's a cost associated with it, but you're expanding the reach of this. Currently, you're only required to notify the adjacent property owners. Now what you're doing is 250 feet or 250 yards? 250 feet. So you're expanding. So you may include more individuals that are going to be notified of it at a greatly reduced cost. So that you're becoming more transparent.
Currently, the state requirement just says a public notification. So we're going above and beyond with the signage, which a lot of communities don't do, plus the mailing. So, and again, no matter where you draw the line, whether you do 250, 500, 1,000, there's always going to be somebody that says, I didn't get a copy of the letter, I lived down the street, my neighbor got a letter, I didn't get a letter. So you just have to draw the line somewhere and try to communicate effectively.
I just want to ensure, because now if it's going to be written down as the village's responsibility, as good as the U.S. Post Office is, things do happen.
Sure. The reason we tried to take it,
we did not do what our ordinance said we were going to do. That's all I was questioning.
Yeah, the reason we're trying to do it in-house is because there's a little bit more quality control of that. Again, we've had a couple times where the petitioners either didn't mail them out or they thought they didn't have to mail all of them out. This way we know that we do that in-house. It's a little bit more of a quality control aspect.
I'm just, sorry, I will say too that most of the calls when people do call in regarding the public hearings for the Planning Commission, it's because most people have seen the signs up, not necessarily, I've got more people saying, oh, I drove past this property and I saw the sign, what's going on? It's typically more so from that than it is from letters.
Would it make any sense, since we're not doing a certified letter of $6, $7, to include a self-addressed envelope with a receipt saying, yes, I received this, whether it comes back to the village, maybe that's just an extra, it's only going to cost a stamp. I mean, it's something to think about.
Or even the notices could go on a postcard, and then they have the option to, you know, acknowledge that they've received it, or I don't know. I go back to, well, you know, it doesn't mean I have to do it. But I do agree. Initially, I was very concerned about people not getting proper notice, but now that we're expanding it to 250, I feel better about that. And I also agree with the certified mails, because I have a Mokina mailing address. My certified mails go to Frankfurt, so I have to go to Frankfurt. I have to usually leave work early to try to get there, so I do see that part of it too.
just trying to make it easier for everyone, and this way, if staff puts them out, they know that they went out in the first place.
Mike, Brian's not here, but you're part of the CED. The consensus of the CED was that this was better.
Yes, they made the recommendation for this.
I feel good with that.
Weren't we always doing 250 feet though? I thought it was always a
We
standard.
weren't, it was just staff practice, but it's
Right.
not in the code.
I
The
know.
code just says to adjacent properties, so now we're just making it clear that every single property owner within 250 feet will receive a letter.
Thank you. Anything else? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Gabriel?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda, is there any old business? Next on the agenda, is there any new business?
Mr. Mayor, not new business, I should have mentioned this earlier. Just a reminder to all the residents, you know, time of the year now that our wildlife unit around our community and surrounding communities are moving, especially at dawn or dusk. And, you know, anybody that leaves in that 5 to 6 o'clock in the morning and come home, you're going to see a lot more wildlife crossing the road, so just please drive careful.
Next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel matters?
I so move.
For a second? Second. Any discussion?
I'm just concerned that we're missing some way board members to us. I'd like to,
That's up to you guys.
I'd like to put it off until the rest of the board can be a part of that.
What we are discussing is what we had talked about before. It's just kind of getting it in line. We know where the other two stand, so.
It's just my opinion.
All right. It's up to the rest of you.
I'm not going in. I mean, we're not going to vote on anything tonight anyway.
It's not going to be a vote, it's just a discussion. So it is.
It's only a discussion, no vote.
No vote.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Then, Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Gabriel?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go into executive session. There will be no votes, so we come out, there will be no action taken.
Aye.